All right. We're excited about the beginning of fall camp. This is our third day. Actually got to put on shoulder pads and play a little bit of football. Tuesday, real football starts. They did a good job today. I am excited about this team and how hard they've worked. It was hot out there today, which I was excited about, and we pushed them extremely hard, and they really pushed through it really, really well. I was pleased on how they pushed through that and paid attention the entire time. So we used up the whole 3 hours, and I was excited about how they worked. So I'll take any questions you have.
What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned between your first year here and your 6th year? And what is the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome during your time coaching in Boulder?
Well, my first year, the 6th year here, we used to complain about going up and down the little hill. And now since they're doing all the, we have to go all the way around. So I'm very thankful for the little hill from the first year. And I know the players are too. A lot of those guys weren't even here for that. But, understanding our team, understanding the university and all that takes place within our university, understanding, when you're in a program for 6 years, the thing that you learn is people come and go, and it's very, very fluid in a program, and especially with the players. And it didn't used to be that way in the NFL, and now you kind of notice the NFL is that way with all the new free agency and everything they do. So every year, you're kind of building a team every year. You have a program, and we plan it all out, and we do all the things we do, but you're kind of having to build a team every year. And so that's one thing that I've learned, especially I thought going into this year, starting back in January, that I felt like that's extremely important. You're building a team and letting those young men that are coming into your program new or older that are coming in your program and coaches, they got to understand what your team's all about, what your program's all about. So that's part of it, the philosophy part.
Mike, you've been involved in so many great programs and teams over the course of your career. I'm wondering, what are the veteran players, do you think, on this team? What have they begun to understand about when you have great success in 2016, didn't go the way you wanted to in 2017? What do you think these veteran guys, juniors and seniors, learned about the differences, what it takes to make sure that success is sustained?
The upperclassmen understand all the nuances that you have to do, all the attention to detail, all the little things really matter. When you're younger, the coach just says it. It's kind of like a cliche. But as they get older, they really realize that. And those guys have been doing a great job of teaching that ever since January. The seniors and the captains have done a great job since we elected them in the last month and a half, getting that across. I think the other thing, too, is the sense of urgency. The kids last year, a lot of our kids were on the team as we built it, and then last year we came up short in 2 games right there in the middle. That the year before we won those 2 games. That they understand how close that is and how you have to build for that in the time leading up to that it doesn't just happen. And then also the work ethic of understanding how you have to handle that under pressure. And a lot of those guys have been we have some key components that have been under those pressure that have to make pressure kicks, have to make pressure throws, have to make pressure tackles and sacks. So I'm excited about those guys have been under that fire and coming back and hopefully doing it this year.
Mike, a lot of players might not react to a suspension a year away the way that Evan has. What is it about him that enabled him through being gone a whole year away from the program and being able to come back and mature the way that he has?
We've been fortunate. It's been interesting. And I think that shows a lot for our program. I've had to do that with a few kids. I would like to do it with no one, but I've had to do it with a few. Most of the time when you kind of suspend a kid, he says, forget you, I'm out of here, I'm never coming back. And so we had a good enough relationship, and he understood what was going on, and he needed to mature, and he did mature. And he took it to heart. He did everything we asked him to do while he was away. And since he's come back, he's got a kind of a new lease on life so to speak, and has done well in school. He was always a good student, but he's done well in school. He's done well off the field, and he's playing more intense on the practice field. He would be the first one to tell you his freshman and sophomore year, he didn't really like to practice because he's such a great athlete. He could get by with that in school, but it hurt us some in the games and hurt him some. And when he came back, he's had that whole new attitude, the practice attitude, the workout attitude. I don't think he's been late to one thing, even been close to late, been on time to class, been on time to practice. I mean, he truly grew up and took it. It's fun to see that as a coach. That's very, very rewarding because now you've made an impact for somebody, not only in football, but in life. That's a fun thing. One of the great things about coaching college football.
Mike, obviously you've got great confidence in what Kurt Roper does with quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You've talked at length about kind of his resume. As you've kind of watched Kurt working with Steven, trying to understand how to go from being an athlete that plays quarterback to a quarterback that's athletic, talk a little bit about that process and how you've seen kind of Kurt maybe impact Steven in this process.
Yeah, Kurt impacting Steven and our other quarterbacks. I've been very fortunate. I got to see Kurt and I work side by side. He was coaching quarterbacks, and I was coaching receivers while at Ole Miss our first couple of years while Coach Cutcliffe was coaching us. And so we cut our teeth on him and Eli Manning and all those guys. It was fun to watch him work with them. And then when we got to Duke, we were together. He was the offensive coordinator. I was the defensive coordinator. And watching how he works with quarterbacks. And so I knew what he would do when he got here. He's so detailed. He's has great knowledge, very excellent understanding of quarterback play and that type of thing. Last night in our walkthroughs, he's got the quarterbacks lined up as running backs. So they were doing the protection, so he wanted them to fit the protections to understand it. I haven't seen that before. He must have picked that up along the way, which is a great teaching tool. You're playing running backs, guys, in the walkthroughs, and you got to get behind. You got to pick up the blitzes. You know where they're coming from. So that lets them know where the free guys are, which speeds your clock up. You're not in a hurry. You understand what's coming. Now you don't take a sack. You get it off. You don't scramble out because okay, that's going to be picked up. If it does, I'll slide over because that's where the pressure's coming. Those little nuances make the difference in making a big play and having a sack or hurrying and rushing out of the pocket. So he's done a phenomenal job. So that's just an example. He does those all the time. But to me, that's a great teaching example that he's done.
Someone who's coached defensive backs
Yep.
a lot of your career, how would you say Ashley Ambrose has kind of helped Shadon Brown progress in his second year in the Pac-12? And how beneficial do you think it is to have kind of two coaches in that secondary room?
Yeah, I think it's very beneficial to have two coaches in the secondary room because you're playing a lot of times 5 DBs out there in a way. You're always playing 4. And so you have the corners and the safeties. Their skill sets are so different and what they have to work on an individual and the expertise in that area and the amount of film study you need to show. The other side of it is, Ashley played for a long time and at corner and understands it. It's coached really well. Shadon really has a great knowledge of the game. And those two guys together, when you bring two guys together, when I was interviewing, when you bring two guys together, you want to make sure they can mesh. And they do. And they got to be the same voice. Even though they're two people, they got to be the same voice to the guys. And so I've seen them help each other and benefit. It's been good.
Coach, kind of a 2-part question on special teams.
Okay.
Especially with your punter and your place kicker, do you feel as good about those units as maybe you have during your time here? And then as a tangent to that, how do you think the new kickoff rules will impact the game this year? And
Right.
do you think it'll succeed in perhaps curbing the big collisions, the guys running down the field like it was intended?
Right. Yeah, like it was intended. Exactly. The first part of the question is I am excited about our punter, our long snapper, our field goal kicker, and our kickoff guy. So Davis Price kicking off, James kicking field goals, JT Bell snapping, Alex Kenney punting. They're really good players, and they've been in the fire a little bit, so they understand what to do. Those hidden yards in a game, making a big play here or there in a game, making a big kick, all those things will make a huge difference in our because we'll play in a lot of close games. The second part, the kickoff rule, it'll change a little bit this year, but the kickoff rule, I'm on that committee. We were going to do basically what they're doing in the NFL. Okay, and everybody said, well, why didn't you? Well, the NFL has 32 teams. They got 4 preseason games to work out any kinks. We have no preseason games, and we have 377 colleges that play football to try to get it out, to get it on. And then plus the Texas high school rules follow the college rules. So there's a whole, well, that's a country in itself, Texas. We decided to put in the fair catch rule because we're going to end up moving 8 up, and you have only 3 back. People are scattered everywhere. So we thought that would slow it down with people that kick it really high, about the 2-yard line. You really can't get a return going if they really kick it well, that you'd have a chance to eliminate a few of those. We want to turn the kickoff return into a punt return, which when we do, I think it's going to be more exciting. And all I know is I sure would hate to go to a football game. Everybody gets excited, run out, and they just put the ball on the 25-yard line and said, okay, let's start the game. That's not college football or a football game. So I believe it'll turn into a punt return because there's not those same type of collisions on a punt return. And I think it's going to be a more exciting play. I think you'll have bigger returns. I think you'll have more. I think it'll be fun. A guy can cut a little more, and so I'm looking forward to it a year from now. And we're going to look at the NFL and study a bunch of their film from what they did. We're also supposed to put it in some all-star games, some college all-star games, and experiment and teach it, and then get a really good teaching plan, great video, so we can send it out to 377 colleges and the Texas high schools so everybody knows all the rules and understands it. So that's the reason behind it.
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
A couple questions. One, were you at all surprised that Steven wasn't voted a captain on the team? And if he's your starting quarterback, do you still need him to be a leader? Oh,
Steven's a definite leader. No, it doesn't surprise me on how we do it. I mean, Cheeto Bayawuzi wasn't a captain our senior year. He didn't really want to be, and it wasn't because he's a phenomenal guy. He was a captain the year before. He wanted some other people to step up and lead is really why he did it. And Steven is a heck of a leader they all look up to. I think that just the way they do the voting in there and the way they did it, as a team, they decided that was the way to do it. So the way I started doing it 3 years ago was I didn't want them to think the head coach was picking the team. You know, you've always had that before where they pick the captains, or you in your businesses or whatever, oh, they chose that person, you voted, oh, yeah, he made that person. No, it was open voting. They all sat in there, had to point it, talk about it, do it. And I would imagine Steven will be one next year. And but I'm excited about his leadership that he's shown. And Steven, if you've been around him, he's a guy that's got a great sense of humor, and everybody kind of likes him because he relates it good with everybody.
Coach, last year may not have gone the way you wanted, but with this being a new season, how much pressure do you put on yourself to make it right, and do you feel the pressure to make it right?
Yeah, I think all of y'all that do your jobs, okay, when you write your articles, when you prepare everything, you put pressure on yourself to be the best you can be, right? And you look at something and you go, I could do this a little better, or you might talk to a colleague in the business and kind of get an idea from them, and different things you do, you always are doing that. So I stole a saying from Coach Cutcliffe, you're either getting better or you're getting worse, nothing stays the same. So I think if you always have that attitude, you always kind of able to help everybody around you be better. And yeah, you have to look in the mirror because I don't know about y'all, but I'm not perfect. I make a mistake every once in a while. So I looked in the mirror and said, hey, how could we change this? How could we do this? And our game is always evolving. And then relationships within a team, managing relationships within a team is always evolving because you always have different personalities and how you put that together. So, yeah, we definitely want to be better this year, and I definitely believe we will be. And, we were so close last year. And I said that a couple years ago, and y'all kept saying, yeah, and then we broke through. We just got to break through a couple games there, and it's amazing how that works. You see it in pro football, you see it in college football, and they're 35 years old. So it's kind of, you're dealing with 18 to 20-year-olds.
Mike, you got a lot of junior college transfers coming in this year that could contribute right away. Redshirt freshmen and maybe even some true freshmen. Do you feel like you got a lot of guys that are kind of flying under the radar that not a lot of the general media, Pac-12 media, have heard about yet?
I sure hope so. Yeah, we do have some really good athletes out there, and our coaches are doing a great job, and they just got to get the learning curve on everything. But the young men that came in January that have been going, I feel really good about those guys being able to step right in day one and play really well. And we have some good athletes out there. We have some guys that we redshirted that are going to play good. We got some sophomores that played a little bit last year that have taken another step. Now we just got to do it in the games and make the plays.
some new guys on that defensive line and a new head coach coming in as well. What do you expect to see out of that unit?
Yeah, we got Quan Drake in there. He's doing a great job with the D-line. And, Mustafa Johnson came in January. He's looked really good. And hopefully he'll do it in the games, but he's looked really good. And he's powerful and strong. He's 290 and can run and very athletic. Javier Edwards has he played good in flashes last year and did some good things, and had kind of a bum ankle that no people know about. He kept nursing all the time and got through with that. He's looked really good out there the last few days, and he looked really. I pushed him really hard today in the heat. He was going at the end of practice just like he was going at the beginning, which he wouldn't have done that last year. So it's exciting to see that. And then Terrence Lang is getting better and better and better. He's a specimen that came in late last year and was a little underweight. Now he's 280. So I'm excited about those guys. And Jacob Callier weighed 250 last year. He weighs 230. He weighs 228 now. Ripped up, and he's fast and quick. He got after the passer last year, just wasn't quite there. I believe he's got that extra step now because he's quicker and faster. So we got some things like that, and Evan Worthington and Nick Fisher are flying around, and those young corners look good. We just got to keep them coming.
Yeah, Mike, along those same lines, we've all noticed that being the old defensive back, you take great pride in that secondary.
Yep.
And in recent years, there's been a string of guys who are now playing in the NFL who, there was expectation, a little hype coming into the season. Now, with Isaiah leaving last year and being with the Atlanta Falcons now, maybe there's a little unknown for the rest of us out there about those guys. Talk a little bit about that unit, though, those corners and the raw talent you see and why you're optimistic about them.
Yeah, we've recruited well there, and those young men are really athletic and doing things. The thing that happens with a DB that we work on all the time is how do they play the ball at the end of the route? So the best way to explain this to you, you see a great athlete playing basketball, right? How does he finish? That's what you always talk about. How does he finish? Well, that's a DB. How can he finish at the end of the route? On a slant, on a go route. Does the guy catch the ball? They're going to catch it once in a while. But if you notice with Isaiah and Cheeto and Kello and as they got going, people didn't, they go, oh, God, they're beat. Boom, they knock it away. That's where these kids have got to get to, and we're really working hard at that. And hopefully they'll be there. They have the talent to run with them. They have the talent to flip their hips. They're strong. They're athletic. They're long. Now they got to go do that. So the problem is you'll tell when they get out there. So hopefully, and the good thing is we have really good receivers they go against and quarterbacks that can really throw it accurate. So they're seeing perfect balls and different things on them, which helps them get better for the game.
Mike, looking at the schedule, it's hard not to notice that you open with 2 rivalry games.
We do?
You do? Just curious, what are your thoughts on opening the season with 2 games like that have so much meaning and emotion to people around this area?
Yeah, we're opening with 2 rivalry games. We're not thinking about that right now as we're out there practicing, but that is something that our kids hear about every day. They have. I mean, I hear about it. If I go to Sweet Cow and get an ice cream, I hear about it. So it's, playing CSU, which is a great game and a great rivalry, and they've got a, really good football team, and, they got a game before us, which gives them an advantage. And then we go to Nebraska the next week. So everybody's talking about it, but we're taking one practice at a time, honestly. I know that's cliche, but we have to. But our kids, we do have to be prepared for that. It's going to be an emotional week after emotional week. And how I handle that as a staff and how we handle that emotional-wise is going to be key to all of that. And so they are excited about playing in the games. I can't tell you they're not. I'm excited about coaching in them. Our fans are excited about watching them. So it's pretty fun. You show up the first 2 weeks, and here you go. There's no tiptoeing into anything. You got to be ready to play. We haven't really done that. But our players, it's kind of known. Not many of our the kids tell them. I haven't had really to say a word about that. To be honest with you, I guess it's just it's built in the Dow Ward walls, and I think it's connected, so I think it passed over.
Hey, Coach. Sorry, back here.
Yeah.
Philip Lindsay was such a big part of your team last year. How do you replace his leadership and his production?
Right. Philip was phenomenal. I've been texting back and forth with him a lot lately. I heard he's doing pretty well over there. I haven't seen any practices, but I'm pretty sure he is. Philip, he's just one of those special guys that everybody on the team knew was special, not just the coach. And he gave great leadership. The thing that I've noticed is our guys around that have watched him, we've had more guys step up and lead this year. More and more at each position, not just the captains. And I think that's because last year Philip was a phenomenal leader, and you could just kind of rely on him to get everybody going. Now that he's not there, so more and more guys have stepped up, and I know Philip would be really proud of that he left that type of legacy for guys to stand up and have the voice and not worry about the peer pressure and understand what it takes to be successful. He taught our running backs a lot. Those kids are stepping up and believe in him and excited about what he's doing and what he did. So that's fun to see. Phillips was one of those players. Sometimes when you get all that hype and all that pub, guys kind of resent you on the team. I think that happens in life. Nobody resented Philip Lindsay. And I think they saw that humility and understand what it takes to be a leader and a humble leader.
Along the same lines of Mark's question, you have a similar situation at wide receiver.
Yeah.
3 guys go to the NFL, and a lot of people in the know are saying this group may be better. Can you touch on what you've seen?
Right. I don't know. They hadn't all played a bunch yet, so I think the jury's still out there. They have talent, but there's a difference in saying it and doing it. They got to keep working at it hard. The 3 young men that are. I was glad to see. I text back and forth with Bobo early this morning. I saw last night when I was going home that heard somebody. I think Maggie might have texted me and said he made the Broncos picked him up. So I texted him. We talked back and forth this morning, and I was excited for him. So, those guys could really play, and they played a lot of plays and did really well. The young men coming up, we have some good talent. And some guys that which is unusual. We still have some older guys that have played some football and kind of bid some different paths. And I think they're kind of seasoned and ready to they're walking in as seniors with a chip on their shoulder, which sometimes seniors don't walk in with a chip on their shoulder, but these guys are, not only for the team but for themselves. So I hope that added intensity makes a difference for them.
And to follow up, what do you see offensively being different with Chev?
We will be a little different. We don't have 23, so that makes you a little different right there. But Chev's doing a great job with him and Coach Adams working together, and I'm excited about what we're doing on offense and how we're doing it. And Steven being older, Sam Neuer being older, Tyler Leiter being older, they kind of have a better understanding of defenses and what gives up and that helps you be a little bit better on offense too. When that quarterback can see a few things and make some changes on the field for you instead of just being the perfect call. So I'm excited about that. So Chev's doing a great job with them.
Coach, you have a unique situation with Alex Kenney being a captain, the first punter since 1987. Describe the moment when you told him he was a captain and kind of what he brings as a punter, as a captain to this team?
Well, they told me. I walked in the room and they told me who the captains were. So I knew he was excited. I was glad that he was picked as a captain. He's from the state of Colorado, Rocky Mountain High School, has worked really hard here, started for us for 4 years now. The thing that it showed me is he's not a prima donna kicker, and I'm not saying they all are. He does all the runs. He does all the weight room. He's there all the time. He never misses anything. He works hard. They respect him. He's tough. He's got a great sense of humor. And he's a leader. He'll tell them, hey, if you're doing something wrong, he's on them. So I think they saw all the leadership qualities in him. And then they see him at practice, how he can punt and how he did a lot of great things, pinning people inside the 20 last year, sacrificing his average for us being put inside the 20. Some guys don't do that. They're like, oh, it went out of, I mishit it. He's going to hit it and make sure it's in that. That's a big deal. So sometimes you don't have to, he averaged really well at the end of the year, but he also had to pin some inside the 20 and inside the 10. And he needs to do that for us this year because that's automatic points. And so I'm excited about what Alex brings to the table.
The note on that is he averaged 49.3 yards on his last 16 punts last year. That was the best in the nation, and 12 of the 16 were still inside the 20.
Coach, your son was also named a captain.
Yeah.
How proud are you of him for that? And is that something that you've kind of like raised him, or just asking him to be a leader no matter whether or not he had to stay on his chest?
Right. Yeah. No, I'm extremely proud of all the guys that were captains. But with Jay, I never pushed him to be a captain or pushed him to be all that. His mom did a great job raising him, so that was good. But he's one of those guys. If you watch the games and you come and watch practice and you watch, he's always in there. He's always working hard. He's always making plays. He's always pushing. He's always fighting. And I think he gained their respect last year when he played a whole year on a broken foot. And they knew he was hurt, and he still was going to play. And he played well. And I think they said, wow, wait a minute. And I think that made a huge impression on them. So I think that was good.
You also mentioned about Kenney being a local player. I know Worthington years ago, came from Cherokee Trail, but a lot of fans can look at some of the names on this roster and see there's a lot more Colorado talent staying in state. How important for you has it been to get those bigger players to stay in state?
Yeah, there's a lot of excellent players in the state of Colorado, and that we recruit and do, and so sometimes we don't get them all, or sometimes I'm not able to offer them all. Depends on what our needs are on our team and at our positions. But the young men in the state of Colorado are playing really well, and we've got some really good players this year making some big impacts for us from the state of Colorado. And we got some younger guys that we've brought in that are in the freshman class that I'm really excited about also.
Mike, can you comment a little bit about a guy like Nate Landman who did some great off-season work? He told me he put on 25 pounds. I said that's no big deal. So did I. But his looks a little different than mine does. Is he developing into a guy that you look at and say, at that linebacker position, he can be a staple for us back there? Yeah,
Nate Landman's an excellent player, and he's gonna we're gonna rotate him in there and play this year, and he's also gonna play on our special teams and make plays there. Nate is long. He's a big linebacker when you see him for an inside backer. He has phenomenal instincts, has a burst of the ball, and when he gets there, he arrives there in a bad mood. And he's a really good football player. He's a really good football player, and I enjoy watching him play. And you'll see him out there a lot this year. And we've got two other excellent linebackers in Rick Gamboa and Drew Lewis, but we're going to rotate him in there because we need them fresh, and they play special teams and everything. And so you'll see him in the rotation and making plays.
You've talked a lot about David Cutcliffe as one
Coach
of your
Cut.
coaching mentors maybe. Can you talk a little bit about how he's maybe influenced your philosophy and what he's meant to you?
Well, he's influenced my philosophy a tremendous amount. He, when I was a young coach coaching at UT Martin, he was the offensive coordinator at Tennessee, and he recruited West Tennessee and Middle Tennessee. I recruited West Tennessee and Middle Tennessee for UT Martin, and so I would run into him out there recruiting all the time, and so when he hired me at Ole Miss, I said, Coach, we've never worked together. He said, I saw how you recruit. I'm going to hire you, and I'll figure out if you can coach. And so then I learned from him as a coach and went from there. But he is my biggest mentor. When my father was going through all the illness and stuff, he was there for me. And he would always contact me, and I was working for him some of the time. It meant a tremendous amount to me, and he's truly kind of like a father figure to me, for sure. The weather was good today, by the way. Media day, y'all brought the good weather because yesterday it was overcast. It's good. Any more questions?
Anything else from the group for Coach Matt?
You sure? Well, how the Rockies going to do? That's what I want to know. They look like they're doing pretty good.
Matt, could you just explain to him how you think the new Redshirt Rule is going to work? And I think people also don't realize it applies to JUCOs as well, any first-year player.
The Redshirt Rule is you can play in 4 games and still get redshirted anywhere in the season. So it could be in the playoffs, it could be in the bowl game, it could be your first game. You could go the quarterback that played at Alabama last year, that played in the championship game, that came in and won the game, he would still be a freshman again with the rule. So that's how dramatic that rule is. I think it's a phenomenal rule. Because it allows you to kind of use your whole 85 roster. It also allows you to play a guy at the end of the year if somebody's beat up a little bit. Allows you to experiment with a few guys. But if a guy's ready to play, we're playing him. We're not going to just try to pick 4 games. If he's good enough to help us a lot, we're going to play him a lot. If he's not quite there yet or backing up 2 or 3 other guys that are older that are playing really well, then we would redshirt them. But there's going to be a lot of I don't think everybody knows exactly how they want to use it yet because it's so new. But there'll be some interesting things this year, and it'll probably happen on our team and happen on some other teams. There'll be somebody late in the year that gets to play because of that, plays 2 games, plays really well, guy comes back well, that guy plays really well, and you can still redshirt the young man. So I think it's a really unique rule, and I think it's good for college football.
Anything else from Mac as a group? We'll stick around in case somebody wants to grab them in a little small group after this. We're going to see bring in Stephen Montez. That's almost everybody requested him